Hey, what's up guys? In this video we're going to talk about CSS Dropdown. So we're going to see how we can create the Dropdown content using CSS. So basically the Dropdown is something that appears whenever the user moves the mouse over the element. So to create one Dropdown content, first of all we're going to create one div and we're going to add the class Dropdown, and now inside the div we're going to have some content like hover me. So whenever we put our mouse over the content, then we're going to have another nested div with the class Dropdown Content, and inside the inner div we're going to have the content like welcome to CSS. So we have the outer div and inside that we have the inner div. So whenever we put our mouse over the outer content, then we wanted the inner content to be visible, which is going to be hidden initially. So for that we're gonna go inside the style tag and we're gonna select the class Dropdown, and now we're gonna use the position relative so that we can position the inner content inside the outer div element. And also we're going to use the display inline block property, and now we're going to select the class Dropdown Content and we're going to use the position absolute to position our inner content relative to the parent element. That's why we have set the parent as relative and the inner element as absolute. And now we're gonna set some background color, and also we're gonna set some max width of 200 pixel, and also we're gonna add the padding of 10 pixel, and also we're gonna use the z-index property of 1 so that our drop-down content will be visible over any other element. So because this is one drop-down content, so initially we're gonna hide the content. So we're gonna use the display none property to hide the content initially, and now whenever we hover our mouse over the outer drop down element, then we want the inner drop down content to be displayed as block element. So initially the inner content will be hidden. That's why we have used the display none, and then whenever we put our mouse over the outer div, then we want the inner div content to be visible as a block element. So you can see whenever we put our mouse over the outer content, then the inner content visible as a drop down. So this is the way we can create the drop down content. And similar way also we can create one drop down image. For that I'm gonna create one div with the class drop image. Now inside the outer div we're gonna have the image, and we're gonna set the width of the image to 50, and also we're gonna set the height of the image to 50. And now inside the outer div we're gonna have some inner div, and we're gonna add the class image content. And now we're gonna use the image tag and we're gonna add the image, and now we're gonna set the width of the image to 300, and we're gonna set the height of the image to 300. So we want initially the inner content to be hidden and the miniature image to be appear, and now whenever we put our mouse over the miniature image, then we want the inner content with the real height and width to be appear as a drop down image. So for that we're gonna go inside the style tag and we're gonna select the class drop image, and here we're gonna use the position as relative, and we're gonna use the display as inline block. And now we're gonna select the img content class, and we're gonna use the position absolute to position our inner content relative to the parent element. And now we're going to use the z-index property to 1 to display our image over any other content. And now initially we want our drop-down image to be hidden, so we're going to use the display none property to hide the content. So initially the inner content will be hidden, and whenever we put our mouse over the outer miniature image, then we want the inner image content to appear, so we're going to use the display as block. So you can see whenever we put our mouse over the miniature image, the full size image appears as a drop down content. So this is the way we can use the CSS and we can create the drop down content on the web page. So hope you understand the concept. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you.